So the Warrens show up and they're introduced to the dad, and Lorraine is acting very weird. There's a smell of rotten meat that moves around the house. Ed says, "Why don't you move out?"
You know, with all that's been going on, why haven't you just moved out?
And the dad says,
And I don't know anybody who's gonna take in a family of 7 indefinitely.
Indefinitely? They don't have any family or friends that they could stay with? At the very least, they could send the youngest ones to. Lorraine is talking to April about Rory, and she does the music box thing. And she sees the singer of My Chemical Romance in the mirror. The dad tells them that they bought the house at auction, so they didn't know shit about the house. Ed and Lorraine think that the house needs an exorcism. The dad says, "I thought that was something you do to people." Lorraine says, "No, not necessarily, no."
Demonic spirits don't possess things. They possess people.
No, not necessarily, no.
And Lorraine says she sees a dark entity that haunts the house and the land. And wherever they go, it'll be latched on to them, feeding off them. And Ed, the professional demonologist and lecturer, he says,
Sometimes when you get haunted, it's like stepping on gum.
Ed says the church has to authorize it first. So they need to gather evidence and provide proof. And that's the hard part. I bet it is. So now we're back at the Warrens' house. Judy, their daughter, is giving Lorraine a locket. Judy and her grandma went and got 2 of these lockets. One is for Judy, which has a picture of her parents in it, presumably because she never sees them. And then she gave a locket with a picture of herself in it to her mom, presumably to remind her mom that they have a daughter.
I miss you and Daddy.
But Ed comes walking in, and he tells Lorraine that the recording that they made earlier, it didn't pick up the mom's voice at all.
From the first occurrence?
Nothing.
And then he says to Lorraine, "What have you got?" And Lorraine says, "Lots." She says the house was built in 1863 by a man named Judson Sherman, and he was married to a woman named Bathsheba. Jedson and Bathsheba had a baby, and when it was just 7 days old, Jedson caught Bathsheba sacrificing it in front of the fireplace. She ran out to that tree by the dock, climbed up, proclaimed her love to Satan, and cursed anyone who tried to take her land, and hung herself. The time of death was 3:07 a.m. Lorraine says her last name's Walker. She lived there in the 30s. She had a boy named Rory who mysteriously disappeared in the woods. Then she killed herself in the cellar. And a woman who worked as a maid in a neighboring home, she killed herself too.
People who took her land.
What about you, Ed? What did you do? Ed listened to the first 5 seconds of a tape that he made earlier, and the tape didn't even work.
Nothing.
Just then, the tape starts playing itself.
I'm sitting here with Carol, her parent, and with her family.
It's playing the sounds of ghost porn. Back at the family's house, Ed, Lorraine, and Drew are there, and a cop shows up.
Officer Brad Hamilton, Harrisville, Rhode Island, PD.
Nice to meet you, man.
His name is Brad, but he reminds me of Officer Doofy, so I'm gonna call him Doofy for the rest of this.
You're the lucky new cop, huh?
Guess so.
You know you can't shoot ghosts, right?
They're all there, just start setting up equipment around the house to try to capture whatever's going on. So then we get a montage of the Warrens and Drew home aloneing the house. They're setting traps, they're setting up temperature cameras, they put little bells on all the door handles. Because I guess demons can open doors and pull on children's legs, but they can't hold a bell still while they open a door. They're not fucking cats. So then outside, Ed and the dad walk by an old car. And then the dad says, "It needs work." And then Ed doesn't say anything. He doesn't give a shit.
Kind of put fixing her up on hold for a while.
Yeah.
So then the dad asks Ed what the cameras do.
Oh, when there's an instant drop in temperature, a thermostat triggers the camera to take a picture.
And the dad says, "You've actually caught these things on film?" Which is a natural question. Then Ed responds, "Well, yeah."
Well, yeah, that's the point.
Like it's a stupid question. If those things work, then the dad should have seen a picture by now. Everyone should have. there would be photographers just for ghosts. They would build their whole career, their whole portfolio would just be pictures of famous dead people or any dead people. So they're outside by the big creepy tree, and Dad says, "Why out here?" And then Ed says, "This is where the witch committed." So it's official that she's a witch now. And one of the major criticisms of this movie that no one talks about is this movie is saying that the Salem witch trials were right. Just then, Lorraine touches a picture of the family at the beach and the mom's hand. And she says, "Nice day at the beach, huh?" Mom says, "How did you know?"
It's an insight. It's like a peek through the curtain into another person's life.
And they don't get into that enough. So then the mom starts talking about the beach day, and Lorraine is checking her out hard.
Nancy pointed out how pretty the view was. I thought
there are occasional charged moments between Lorraine and the mom, but then there's really something going on with the dad and Ed. I feel like the movie's implying that there's some sort of secret love story going on between the dad and Ed. I'll show you what I mean later. So then we cut to Drew, and he's gaming on the oldest daughter, and he's using their special forensic lights. He's showing her that it can illuminate recent handprints. And even though they're digging each other here, it doesn't come up again. Sorry, Drew. But then a door moves, and we hear a bell chime, and everyone freezes. But it's just Doofy. Did he open the door before flushing the toilet? And he's walking out backwards, drying his hands with a towel, and then he just throws it back in there somewhere.
What?
So then we see that the rooms are all mic'd up, and the audio is coming in clear.
All the rooms are coming in pretty good.
So Ed is unpacking his equipment, and the dad is like, "What's that?" And it's a tiny little bottle of holy water. Not like a big liter bottle or a super soaker. So they go into the kitchen, and Officer Doofy is recording a cup of coffee for some reason. So then they see the cellar door start to open up by itself, and one of the cameras flashes. So then Doofy's recording as the Warrens go into the basement with a mic and ask the spirit if it wants to communicate.
Give us a sign that you want to communicate with us.
Ed walks around, deliberately putting the mic up to things that make noise. The subtitles even say, "Water running in pipes." The noise was loud enough that they thought they'd let deaf people know. He puts the mic up against the furnace. Lorraine is hunched over. She says, "There's definitely something in here."
There's definitely something here.
And like 15 seconds after Lorraine said, "There's something in here," they're like, "No, it's gone."
Well, like I said, it doesn't always work when you want it to.
But what didn't work when they wanted it to? It's the first night. A door opened on its own. A bell dinged. The temperature camera was set off and took a picture. Lorraine felt that something was there. They haven't listened to the recording or developed a picture yet. Did he expect it to show up in person and talk to them? What didn't work? And then right after he says this, the door slams behind them. So then Drew says to Doofy,
Looked a little freaked out when that door slammed shut.
and Doofy says, "I believe the clock. It's 3:08 a.m. So the clocks didn't stop at 3:07 this time. So Doofy doesn't believe in this stuff. Yet. The next morning, everyone's having breakfast. Like everyone. The family, the Warrens, Doofy, and the next shot is Lorraine outside hanging sheets on a clothesline. She's doing laundry her first morning at someone else's house.
You're funny.
Ed starts talking to her about what a nice family and what a nice property. And oh, April, the little girl, she brought me pancakes.
Yeah, that little one. April. So you bring me pancakes?
Yeah.
And it makes you think like, oh yeah, I hope someday the Warrens settle down and get a house like this and have a little family. And then you remember they have a fucking daughter.
This way we'll always be together. You'll be with me and I'll be with you.
They don't remember. Who pronounced the time of death in 1863 at 3:07 a.m.?
I'm sitting here with Carol and Parent and with her family.